Now, Donald Trump has had a history of donating money to Democratic and Republican candidates, including Hillary Clinton. In fact, in a debate last year, there was a rare moment of truth from Donald Trump where he said this about political donations. Quote, as a businessman and a very substantial donor to important people, when you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to. Very, very true. Especially coming from Trump, who pretty much lies all the time. Every once in a while, he says something absolutely stunningly honest, which is weird. Now, let's go to today. CNN's Anderson Cooper is actually going to ask Hillary Clinton in an interview about these donations and the effect they might have. Let's take a listen.
Did Trump ever engage you on substance? Did he, he says he gave money for access. Did he ever ask you for favors?
Not that I recall, no. I don't recall that. I mean, he has played all sides of the political arena. That's his choice, and he can explain it however he chooses. I've been very consistent about where I stand, going back to when I started working as a lawyer for the Children's Defense Fund. I am going to do everything I can to even the odds against people who feel that the odds are stacked against them. I'm going to really give it my all to give every person, particularly every child in this country, the chance to live up to his or her God-given potential.
Oh, did Trump ever ask you for anything? No, I don't remember. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't recall that. Not really a firm no, just more of a, I don't know, I don't remember. It's a typical Hillary Clinton answer. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if you can really actually ask for favors. Because wouldn't that have the appearance of having like a quid pro quo kind of deal going on? And as far as I know, that's still illegal, at least for now. No, it's actually about access. For example, policies that work in favor of people like Donald Trump and other wealthy billionaires, well, that access gets them and their priorities prioritized higher than everyone else. Now, do I have direct specific proof of that? Not so much, but let's take a look at her record as a senator from New York and what she actually did for wealthy people. Now, to her credit, she voted against the Bush tax cuts and repealing the estate tax. Okay, that's great. Those two things would have actually benefited Trump greatly. Well, voting against those bills, that kind of works in your favor, right? However, in 2004, she voted for something called the American Jobs Creation Act of 2004. Now, you might hear that title and be like, oh, yeah, American Jobs Creation Act. Oh, that sounds great, right? There can't be anything terrible or wrong with that bill whatsoever. Well, this legislation was so bad that it was nicknamed the 2004 Corporate Tax Giveaway Bill. Here's what it did. It actually created a repatriation holiday for corporations that allowed them to bring back their money stashed overseas at very low tax rates, in the hopes of actually creating more jobs. Now, of course, it didn't create jobs. No additional jobs were created because of this legislation. In fact, it didn't stop us from losing jobs. It did absolutely nothing but enrich already super rich people. And it gave companies incentive to stash their money overseas. So, they could possibly get another holiday in the future. This is a bill that actually helped people like Trump and helped them store their monies overseas in the hopes of a low tax payday. And of course, that's sort of what the Panama Papers was all about. Showing how rich people have been storing their money in Panama to get lower tax rates. And then these repatriation bills, no, they benefit those people who sit there, stash their money over there, let it sit until they get a holiday, they can bring it all back at low taxes. It's all trying to get around our tax system to deprive our government of funds it desperately needs to do what it's supposed to do. Helps wealthy businessmen. Certainly Trump could also have benefited from this. Now, I don't have direct proof of that. That is yet to come out in the Panama Papers. But could it conceivably happen? Absolutely. Now, I also want to address how she kind of dealt with the banks while she was in the Senate, while we're talking about her record. Now, according to a financial services executive who lobbied her while she was in the Senate. So this is coming from a lobbyist, right? Quote, she was not a champion of the financial sector, nor was she an antagonist. The financial sector viewed her as neutral, not helpful, but also not harmful. This is when she was back in the New York Senate. Now she claims that she's a progressive warrior against the banks. And then there's, of course, the claim from the other side that she's in the pocket of the banks. Here's a lobbyist saying, nah, she's sort of in the middle. She's hands off. In fact, when lobbyists and certain people wanted to get a hold of her, her calls ended up going right to the desk of Chuck Schumer, who's definitely 100% in the pocket of the banks. So yeah, you can't really prove by her voting record that she did direct favors for Trump. But here's the idea. The idea that you give money to a candidate, they end up being a bit more receptive to your needs. That's the problem with money in politics. It gives them influence, it gives them access. If you oppose money in politics because it can have a corrupting influence, but also try to defend Clinton on receiving donations from different members of the Trump family, which he had received donations from Melania, from Eric Trump, and from Donald Trump, a couple which were returned, actually, during her 2008 campaign, well, you know, if you try to defend that, then you kind of really undermine her argument, or the argument, that money is corrupting. But does it corrupt everybody except for Hillary Clinton? Well, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work like that. Yes, she did vote to allow a tax holiday that was a complete failure for everyone but wealthy corporations and CEOs. Something that would, as I said, conceivably benefit someone like Trump. She also is strictly against Glass-Steagall when we're talking about the banks. Doesn't necessarily help Trump, but it helps certain wealthy people. Maybe friends of Trump, maybe her friends. Or friends of the establishment and other wealthy people. Look, it comes down to access, as I'd said. By giving to Clinton, Donald Trump was able to make a connection in government that could end up being very beneficial to Trump or to any businessman. There's no doubt that Hillary Clinton is very, very influential, especially in the Washington establishment circles. Just floating her name could end up opening up opportunities for someone who wanted to do business, for example, in New York. Maybe someone who has a hotel chain. Now, of course, it's not going to be documented or anything like that, but we know that the right word in a person's ear can get things moving, maybe a little bit faster. For example, like real estate development projects. I know it's not a lot to go on, but every once in a while, I think Donald Trump does tell the truth on certain things, whether it be honestly or on purpose or completely accidental because he's a buffoon. Who knows? But this is what he said about political donations. Quote, I had to deal with politicians and I would contribute to them and I would deal with them, and certainly I'm not going to say bad things about people because I needed their support to get projects done. I needed their support for lots of things, or I may have needed their support. Put it another way. I mean, you're not going to say horrible things and then go on a year later and say, listen, can I have your support for this project or this development or this business? So I say nice things about almost everybody. And I contributed to people because I was a smart businessman. I've built a tremendous company, and I did that based on relationships. Now, if you remember, before this campaign, Donald Trump has said very, very nice things about Hillary Clinton and has given her money. Maybe because he might have needed her support. And at the end of the day, that's kind of how you do business. You get connected. Now, how do you get connected to a politician? Well, the first step is write them a check. Because unless you're bringing money, they won't even meet with you. You give them money, they're going to meet with you, they're going to get to know you. Hell, maybe they'll even come to your wedding. And then, after you've made that connection, you can keep that in your back pocket, because that does not go away. Just in case, someday, they might actually be able to give you a little bit of help in return. Legally, of course. Using their own influence to maybe help you out, or at least listen to your concerns. and prioritize their concerns or your concerns over someone else's concerns. And that's what happens. That's why you give money to a politician. So at the end of the day, they're going to listen to you, they're going to represent you, and maybe they'll even help you out. Now, maybe Clinton can't think of anything she's done to directly help Trump. But that doesn't mean that something small, maybe even barely significant, hasn't happened for his benefit because of his connection to Hillary Clinton at some point. It's just something to think about.